Hello, my name is Adriana and this is a NetGALLEY reading vlog. So in this vlog, I will actually be reading 4 different books. I read The Windsors at War. Oh god, this reading vlog was so spread out. Spells for Forgetting, Stardust, and Clytemnestra's Bind. So a variation of many different topics, genres, everything else, but they're all NetGALLEY arcs. So when I checked my NetGALLEY score this morning, I brought it back up to 74. As per usual, I am filming this intro clip after I've read all the books at the very end of this vlog. So I managed to crawl my way back up. Of course, as I was on NetGALLEY, I couldn't help but check for new arcs and got approved for 2 more arcs. So I am Sisyphus. I will forever be pushing the stone of my feedback ratio higher and higher up that hill just to have it descend back down every time I get close to the top. So we're living, we're learning, we're loving, we're laughing. I don't even remember what happens in this vlog. It started months ago. So enjoy. Before we jump into past Adriana's timeline, please consider liking and commenting on this video and subscribing to my channel if you like bookish things. Starting off this vlog strong, we have The Windsors at War. Do I particularly care about the royal family? No. Do I particularly love World War II history? No. So then why did I request an audiobook of the royals at war during World War II? Well, because I love some drama. I love some family drama. And there is nothing more dramatic than a king abdicating his throne to marry an American divorcee, and then 3 years later, only 3 years into his brother's reign taking over as the King of England, they are then pitted against each other in the biggest war the world has ever known. Our abdicated king is a Nazi, and obviously the ruling king of England, not a Nazi, fighting against the Nazis. Just the drama, I just want to get an insight into like these 2 brothers being on such opposite ends of this global conflict, and I am struggling to remember. Edward VIII was the one who abdicated. I do not remember the brother's name who took over, but he is Queen Elizabeth II's dad. I want to say like Albert. Either way, I'm interested to get into kind of his mindset of having to become the monarch basically right at the start of this global conflict, how he dealt with it. I don't know. I think there will be some good drama here. I'm hoping it's well written. I'm hoping it's well narrated. I have very high hopes for this, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, so I have reached the halfway point of The Windsors at War. I decided to just do a halfway check-in because I didn't really see the benefit in doing splitting it up into multiple parts, because I think my opinions aren't really going to change that much because this is just a non-fiction kind of history book. But some things I do want to say about this book: I think it is structured really well. I think it gets the history across in a very digestible way, but it is very, very dry. It is a very, very dry book, and I don't know, I'm learning a lot. Like, it's kind of funny because a couple days before I got this book, my husband and I were actually having a discussion about why the Nazis didn't just bomb Buckingham Palace, because I feel like that would have been a pretty big hit to morale, especially if they had managed to kill one of the royals. And it turns out the Nazis did bomb Buckingham Palace a couple times, and the Windsors just got extremely lucky, like, every single time. So one time, King George VI was, like, in his study, and then a bomb came down, and then just didn't go off. It just landed in the courtyard, and just never went off. And then another time, they were walking from one room to another, and King George VI had like an eyelash or something that was bugging him, so him and his wife stayed behind, and they were in a room with open windows, and they were about to go into a room with closed windows, and a bomb went off outside of the palace, and the concussive force actually exploded all the windows and would have eviscerated them had they been in the room with the closed windows. So it's just like one of those like crazy historical, like, you know, truth is stranger than fiction. Like, you would not put that many coincidences in a fictional book and have people still believe it, but it happens in real life. And then, of course, another large part of this book is the focus on Edward VIII, King George VI's brother, who abdicated from the throne. And I'd always thought in my mind that he was kind of a debonair man about town, fell in with the Nazis because he truly believed in fascism. But what I am getting out of this book, and mind me, the author admitted in like the intro that he is very biased. So, I mean, obviously, if the author is admitting his own bias, it's very prevalent. But after reading a lot of the actual correspondence and first-hand accounts of King Edward VIII's actions, he was really just a child. He abdicated the throne so that he could marry this woman, got all butthurt that everyone was all mad at him for doing it, got very butthurt again that no one was gonna call her royal, Her Majesty's Royal, or I don't even know what they call it, whatever weird title they have over there, and then was all butthurt that he felt like he wasn't getting enough royal treatment as a guy who literally gave up his royal title. Then the Germans came in and treated him as a royal or whatever, and he just bent over backwards to do whatever they needed him to do because they gave him attention, because he was a child. And if that isn't, you know, a good enough reason to abolish monarchies as a whole, I don't know what is. Obviously, these people are stunted and have gone through a lot of weird trauma that not a lot of people can relate to. But, like, that doesn't mean we need to give them a bunch of money and house them in palaces. Not that I really have a horse in this race. I obviously don't live in the UK, but it just seems a little strange. It's a little weird. As far as the audiobook part of this, I do like the narrator. I think she does a pretty good job, but I do not like her American accents. She does pull out an American accent every once in a while when she's like reading correspondence from the perspective of Wallis Simpson, because she's obviously an American, or I guess she was like reading a speech from like FDR and put on like this American affect, and I just don't like it. It's just weird. And I'm sure like British people get this all the time when Americans try to do like British accents, but it's just uncomfortable. Like, it just sounds so strange because it's like you can tell it's someone trying to do an American accent. And honestly, I just kind of wish she would just do everything in her own accent. Like, I don't need her to attempt the accent of whomever. That's where we're at with that. I mean, it's fine. It's very, very dry. I would only recommend it if you are interested in history. It's not thrilling, it's not exciting, but I am learning a lot and enjoying that aspect. Okay, I just finished The Windsors at War, and very much like I thought, my feelings did not change. It is very, very dry. And while there is a lot of focus on the relationship between Edward VIII and George VI, there was a lot of like extraneous stuff that I just didn't really care about. Like what was going on with like Churchill and FDR. Like, I don't really need that in a book that's specifically called The Windsors at War. I thought this was going to be a lot more about like the actual family interplay and less about like the politicking interplay. And yeah, it's long, it's dry. It is fun to get, they use a lot of first-hand accounts, which is always really interesting to go back and see how people were feeling about certain events like at the time as they were happening. Other than that, it's just long and boring. Very long and very boring. I will say, it does make history feel very cyclical. Like, obviously history is not perfectly cyclical. We're not exactly copying everything that happened today, but a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Windsors in the late 30s, early 40s is a lot of the same stuff that's happening now. So that's pretty interesting, and I don't know, I mean, there's probably a better book out there that has the interesting information from this book that is not 13 hours long. So I think that's kind of where I gotta leave it. It's long, it's dry. catch you on the next book. Hello! We are finally ready to start book number 2 of this vlog, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I was drawn to this book mostly because the author, I haven't read any of her other stuff, but I don't know, she's a big author. I put in a request on NETGALLEY. I got accepted for the request. I never read the book. So we are going to correct that now. I got the audiobook version from my library, so I will be listening to that over the course of the next couple days and checking in with my thoughts and feelings as I go along. Okay, I just got back from the gym, so I am sweaty and disgusting. But before I went out and got sweaty and disgusting, I went to my local bookstore. So I have a little mini haul for y'all. First off, starting with this super cute tote bag. I love their logo. It's so cute. The sun and the book. It's cute. I love this. I love this tote bag. And then I also picked up a card. I have a friend who's having a bridal shower this weekend, so I needed a little card to give her whilst at the bridal shower. This one's very cute. It says, "Let's go on an adventure." And it's supposed to be blank on the inside, so I'm just planning something about it, like how I'm excited for her new adventure of marriage. I don't know. I just thought the card was super duper cute. It's got a little tent and mountains. Oh, I love it. I also found this Star Trek Voyager comic, and I'm not a huge comic person, but I would like to be more of a comic person, and I feel like starting off with an IP that I already know and love is probably a pretty good way to get into comics, so I'm excited. I think this will be a fun little read through. It's got pretty neat art, some characters I love and enjoy, and then the main reason I went to the bookstore was to pick up a pre-order of Yellowface. Look at, here she is. Oh my god, this cover is just so impeccable. Impeccable. I am obsessed. Very much excited to read this book. I will be reading it at some point over the summer. It will happen because I am very excited about this book. But anyway, that's my little haul. Also, while I was out and about, I made it to the 3rd mark of Spells for Forgetting. I'm not quite sure what I think of this book yet. We've definitely got like a mystery element going on. 14 years ago, a young woman died. One of her friends was accused, but they couldn't prove that he did it, so he left this small island that they're on. I don't know, it's definitely like mystery thriller vibes, but I guess there's also like some sort of magical element to it that really hasn't been explored yet. I guess on this small island off the coast of Washington where this is taking place, all the women of the island have some sort of magical ability, but like I said, we're just barely starting to tiptoe into what that is. There's a spell book. There was like a flashback to when one of the main characters was just learning about magic, and she made like a flower bud blossom. I'm not quite sure what we're doing with the magic yet. I imagine the magic probably has something to do with the mystery element, because otherwise why would it be there? But yeah, I'm very intrigued as to what is going on. I don't understand. I don't know. But hopefully soon I will figure out. But I'm going to eat and take a shower, because that's what is necessary right now. So, you know that thing where you're like anxious about being somewhere late, so you leave your house like a half hour early, so that way if there's like an accident or something, you'll still get there on time? But then the trip goes smoothly, so now you realize you're gonna be there a half hour early, and that's also anxiety inducing. So you just sit at a Maverick wasting time so you can be there an appropriate level of early. Yeah, that's my life. All right, I made it to 66% of Spells for Forgetting, and the mystery is ramping up. We're getting some answers to some parts, but there's still a pretty large lack of magic. Kind of wish we had more magic. Like, if you're gonna put magic in the story, like, I want to see it. I want to see the magic. I want to see characters doing the magic. I want to see the consequences of the magic. So far, we haven't had a whole lot of that. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. There are a lot of characters to keep track of, but fortunately the audiobook is using a different narrator for like each POV character, which is helping a bit. I'm enjoying it, about average enjoyment. I don't know why I keep picking up these mystery thrillers, thinking I'm gonna enjoy them any more than the last time I read one, because I just not that into it, but I get stuck in the mystery and I gotta know what happened. But I don't exactly enjoy the process of the whole thing. I have about 4 hours left of this book. I'm reading it at 1.5 times speed. I don't know. Don't have that much longer left, but we'll see. We'll see what I think about it at the end. Good morning. This is just a quick check-in to say I finished up Spells for Forgetting. I am not sure how I feel about the way it wrapped up. It did include magic as I expected it would, but I just feel like the magic wasn't integrated enough in the rest of the story to really warrant being able to use it in the wrap up of your mystery. I feel like if you're going to rely so heavily on magic in solving the mystery, or like I guess exposing the mystery, it needs to be more integrated in the story as a whole. But that's just how I feel. I don't know. I could see why some people would really enjoy this. It is atmospheric, it is engaging, it has probably too many characters. Like there's so many characters going on in this story, but I guess that's also part of like the mystery genre as a whole. You have like a wide cast so that you can't automatically guess what's going on. I don't know, 3-star. It was fine. I don't really have any super strong feelings on it one way or another. I don't know. I will write my review when I get into work today because my husband and I need to be into work pretty early this morning, so don't have a whole lot of time to get to it this morning. That's where we're at with that story. Good morning. It is the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend, and I will be starting, let me see if I can pull them up, Starstruck by Serafina Nance and Clytemnestra's Bind by Susan Wilson. If you have seen my summer TBR, you will have already seen both of these books. They were both technically on my June to August TBR, but both of their archive dates are pretty early in June, so I'd rather just start them now and get them done before they archive than really try to save them for June or whatever. And I should probably also be trying to finish my spring TBR, but you know, these ones have a due date. The ones on my spring TBR don't necessarily have a due date. So the first one, Starstruck, is a memoir by an astrophysicist / astronaut. I'm really looking forward to it. I really don't know what to expect, what's going to be going on, but I love a memoir as I'm learning in my life. And then the second one, Clytemnestra's Bind, as you can guess, is a retelling of Clytemnestra's view of the Trojan War. When I was doing my summer TBR, I read the first line of both of these and all of the books I plan on reading in the summer, and Clytemnestra's Bind seemed like it might be like taking place later in her life after she's like grown up and married and everything else, so we'll have to see. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. As far as the plan for Memorial Day weekend, my husband and I are taking tomorrow off from work, and we will actually be leaving tonight to go to a camping spot very close to Oregon. We're basically gonna drive to Oregon and then like hop back into Washington, and we'll be meeting some of our friends, and it's just gonna be a really good, fun time. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I don't know. We don't really have a whole lot of plans. We're just camping. We're just vibing. Probably gonna try to like go on some hikes with the dogs. I don't know. It's gonna be a good time. We made it to the campsite, or campground. I think we got the last campsite that can accommodate a camper. The rest of the sites that were open seem to be for like tents only. So we lucked out pretty hard, but you know, things generally just seem to work out for us. So we're here. Our friends will be arriving tomorrow, so we'll be meeting them back in town and showing them where we're at. We're in for the night. As you can tell, it's really dark. It's already like 9:30 almost. Yeah, it's 9:30. We're in, we're settled, the camper's set up. All we gotta do is hang out, go to bed, wake up in the morning. I will continue reading Starstruck. I have made no progress, but I'm anticipating that tonight should be a pretty good night for getting some reading done. Good morning. We have a beautiful spot. I mentioned last night that we managed to get a spot, which was exciting in itself, but this morning, seeing it in the daylight, it is perfect. It is really close to the road, which is not ideal. It's really nice. We've had a pretty lazy day this morning. We just finished breakfast. I made it to the third mark of Starstruck through the first part, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I think it's pretty well written. I think her childhood so far has been fairly interesting and fairly easy for me to relate to, but I'm excited to see kind of her develop further into this story. She also, at the beginning of each chapter, includes a bit about kind of the development of the universe, of our solar system, galaxy, whatever, and I'm interested to see how that progresses, if that gets more kind of intellectually rigorous as we go on, or if it just kind of stays more surface level. But yeah, I think the plan for the rest of the day is to take the dog on a little walk, drive over to Hood River to kind of get some last minute bits and pieces that we forgot to pack, get some lunch, check out that town. I've never really spent any time there, so I'm excited to kind of check that out. And then our friends should be into Hood River around 3:30, so we will be meeting them and then driving back up here. And they'll be setting up their tent, and we'll have lots of dogs and lots of people, and it should be a really great time. Alright, I've made it to the 2/3 mark, I guess like almost 70% of Starstruck, and I love this story. I can relate to so much of it, and then I also just realized that she and I are the same age. We both graduated in 2016, graduated undergrad in 2016, and so this is really like getting me on like a really deep level. The redness in my eyes is like a mixture of smoke from the fire and also like tearing up at this book. It's so heavy hitting and just grabbing me so hard. I am enjoying it so much. I will probably finish it today because I just want to wrap myself up in this story like a cozy blanket. I haven't even read the other book I have downloaded on here, Clytemnestra's Bind, just because this has been so enthralling. Like normally with a nonfiction, I kind of want to take like some breaks or whatever, but this is just, it's everything. I love it. Like, I already knew before I started this book that I was gonna really enjoy Serafina as a person, just because she's accomplished so much and is such an inspiration to women in STEM. But like, especially reading her story, it's just so, it means so much. It means a lot. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to reading and keep reading because I am just loving this book so much. Okay, I just finished Starstruck, and it is so good. Definitely a 5-star memoir for me. There are some parts where I can feel some kind of internalized misogyny peeking through, but that could also just be me projecting my own experiences as a woman in STEM. But overall, I think it's really impactful. I think it really means a lot. I think this is probably going to be another one I'm adding to my list of memoirs you should watch before you go to college, just because it's just such a good job of relating a certain type of experience that I think is really meaningful. Definitely 10 out of 10, would recommend. A lot of people should read this. With that done, I will now be moving on to Clytemnestra's Bind. Don't know much about it, looking forward to it, and I will check in when I'm at the 33% mark. Come here. You're such a good boy. Yes, you got it. You got it. You got it. Good morning. Last night I read through part 1 of Clytemnestra's Bind and like a little bit extra. I also put the new keycaps on my keyboard and look how cute they are. Oh, I love them. Anyway, it's taking me a lot longer to get through this book than I think it normally would. And I don't think it's totally due to any fault of the book's own. Starstruck was just so good, and I think I'm a little burnt out on this story, Clytemnestra retelling specifically. Also, this book is going to be a part of a series, so I think it might be moving a little slow, because like I don't know how you're going to put this into a series when this story has been told so many times in like 400 pages or less. I don't know how you're going to expand that out. Anyway, I don't know, I mean, it's fine so far. I don't really feel like it's doing anything different than a lot of the other ones I've read before it. But again, I'm only a third in, so it could surprise me at the end. But I don't know, I just feel like if you're going to retell such a common story, you really should off the bat try to do something a little different. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll see if it ends up being something interesting. But right now I'm honestly kind of feeling like 2.5, 3 maybe if the ending's really good. But yeah, I'm really tired. The weekend killed me. So let's get through this work day. Hello, I reached part 3 of Clytemnestra's Bind. I'm just gonna say now that my husband is also in the room and he is playing video games, so I will do my best to edit around him exclaiming, but you're probably gonna hear buttons in the background and whatnot. But anyway, I made it to part 3, and the second part definitely had me more intrigued than the first part. It is a little bit different. I feel like a lot of these retellings typically focus more on Clytemnestra and Helen's relationship as children to kind of explain Clytemnestra's character, versus this one really seems to be taking Clytemnestra's journey as a mother more into account, which is definitely an interesting take to have. I am definitely enjoying it more than I thought I would at the end of the first part, and I only have like an hour left of the book, so there's a good possibility I finish tonight, which would be great. It's definitely moving a little slow, and I think that's just due to the fact that this story is being stretched out into a series, so we'll have to see how it actually ends up ending or finishing off on this part. I have a theory. We'll see how my theory ends up. Good morning. I did manage to finish Clytemnestra's Bind last night. I think this book was trying to do something different than I realized it was at the beginning. I still think the beginning was pretty boring. The first part is slow. It's not great. But in the second part, when I realized we were really focusing on Clytemnestra's journey as a mother as opposed to Clytemnestra's journey just as like a person, it really made a big difference for me. And that is why we started with Clytemnestra's first relationship with Tantalus versus her childhood. I think I'm still gonna give this book a 3.5. I did enjoy it. At this point, I probably would read a sequel if the sequel is short because we covered 75% of the story in this one. If this is trying to be stretched out into like a trilogy or longer, I'm probably gonna stop because we don't have a whole lot of story left. But this one did. My theory was correct. This one did pretty much end how I thought it would end. I'm interested to see how this revelation influences Clytemnestra's character in the next one. So I guess just some overall thoughts on the book. Something I thought was really interesting was they had a reoccurring kind of peasant character. So, you know, peasants will petition to the king for certain issues that they have, and we kind of see the same petitioner come in like 3 or 4 times and kind of see the progression of this issue as time goes on and how it kind of parallels some of the issues we have going on with Clytemnestra and Agamemnon and their family, which I thought was really smart and really interesting to parallel, you know, these people of high privilege are experiencing very similar issues to these destitute peasants. So I probably should have done this in a different order, but now I'm gonna end on 2 things that are not as great about the book. I really didn't like the way the author vilified the daughter Electra. It just really felt like a hit piece on the daughter Electra, and I think we just don't really need it. Like, we don't need to continue to vilify women in Greek mythology retellings because they've already been vilified enough. You know, and kind of the original telling of the Trojan War or Iphigenia, Electra is kind of a neutral character. I mean, probably as positive of a female character you're gonna get in Greek mythology from the ancient Greeks and Romans. And in this book, she's definitely internalized a lot of misogyny, which is understandable in this society, but the fact that we don't really get any explanation or deeper look into her character as to why she is the way she is. We get a little bit at the end, so maybe that is something that the author will be tackling in the next book. I just don't really like the way the character was handled in this book. And then also, this book is not non-Greek mythology fan friendly. And I wouldn't even say like not Greek mythology fan. I would say like you have to be a straight up like Greek mythology anthropological nerd. It includes a lot of kind of cultural practices of Greek mythology, one being that the ancient practicing Greeks of this religion would never refer to the gods by their proper name, especially Persephone, the goddess of spring, but also the wife of Hades, god of the underworld. They would not ever refer to her by her name. It was seen to be like kind of a bad omen. And also just with most of the gods, they had other kind of nicknames for them that they would refer to them as, other than like Artemis or Athena or whatever else. In general cultural practice, they would have a lot of these nicknames for the gods, and that is the names that the author chose to use, as well as some other kind of ceremonies and that kind of stuff. And they're just kind of thrown in without any real sort of context. And I think they do add a lot to the story, but if you're not familiar with those cultural practices, I think it could be really, really confusing and probably take you out of the story quite a bit. So I would definitely not recommend this unless you are a deep Greek mythology nerd. So yeah, I think that's kind of all my thoughts on Clytemnestra's Bind. I'm a little conflicted. I think you can tell as I'm like going through this, like I'm excited about some stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel that great. Like, I don't know. I'm conflicted. I think if you are a deep, deep Greek mythology nerd, you could probably enjoy this, but at the same time, if you are a deep, deep Greek mythology nerd, you might be a little burnt out on this type of retelling. I don't know. You're just gonna have to try it for yourself because I really can't tell you. Normally, if I read a book, I can kind of see what kind of person would enjoy it, whether or not I enjoyed it. This one, I really just can't tell you. That makes me a bad reviewer on this one, but you know what? Sometimes it happens. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave you with this book. When I get home from work, I will film an intro and outro clip for this vlog, but this is the last you'll be seeing of Clytemnestra's Bind, kind of. Whatever. I need to keep getting ready for work. So I will see you in a second. Here we are at the end. I just filmed the intro clip. It's a bit of a mess, but this video is going to be so long, you probably don't even remember what the intro clip was. Overall, a successful NetGalley vlog. I feel like I end most of these with like really enjoying one of them and then the rest are just kind of meh. But I feel like this one was the same, but at least I had some feelings on the ones I was meh about. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I read 4 books, checked them off my NetGalley. We did it. So with that, I'm going to push Stardust one more time because it's coming out the day after this video comes up. So if you are watching this the day it comes out, pre-order it. If you're watching it anytime after that, go order it because it is incredible. It's impeccable. It's amazing. I cannot say this enough. Please read this book. And thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.